I'm with the Sterling Society Board, and the Coffee and Conversation is donated by the Sterling Society from John and Sarah Kissinger, very nice people. The coffee is donated by Steve Date. What do we do? The Sterling Society, if you look at the Arts Center, you go all the way to get involved, at the bottom it says Sterling Society, $25 for your membership. We do all kinds of things. The electronic signs you see, that was donated by the Sterling Society. We travel a lot too. The end of April, we're going to Winter Park. Winter Park. We have this trail committee, so we do lots of things like that, local and long distance. So please consider joining the Sterling Society. If you're not, we do lots of good things for the Arts Center. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Danny Olda, who is our curator. He will help the artist introduce her and explain the art. Have a good time, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm excited to be here. First, I wanted to thank Linda personally and the Sterling Society generally. They make so much possible here at the Arts Center to make these art exhibitions, the classes. So much actually happened for us here, so grateful. And like Linda mentioned too, Sarah and John Kessinger and Lane's Lemonade for making this specific event happen as well. I have Tatiana Mesa Paján with me. Tatiana's exhibition, or solo exhibition, is actually in the Douglas Whitley Gallery down the hall. After we talk here, I'm going to ask some questions of Tatiana, open up to you to ask any questions you have, and then for anyone that wants to join us, we'll all walk down to the gallery and check out her solo exhibition down there. This exhibition technically opens tomorrow night, so you all get a bit of a preview today, which is kind of exciting. So Tatiana, you are currently a professor at USF, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. I'm in charge of the printmaking department and the head department. And I'm also the tech. I'm teaching like a lot of classes in there. Hi. Now you can hear me. I have a very strong accent. I'm not cursing, I'm just mispronouncing.
So I guess we'll go all the way back in time now to early age. Did you have an interest in art making from like a young age, an early age?
Yeah, I was always different, and it not always feels in a nice way. And thanks God, my mom's she's in the mental health industry. She's a doctor, and she I don't know if this is the right answer, but she noticed very early this is an artist, or I don't know what is going to happen. So yeah, since I have memory, I'm really getting trained in art, in music too, dance, theater. But then at 6th grade, I started very seriously in fine arts, and then I make my decision.
Yeah, so that's kind of something I wanted to talk about. First, I feel like we should say you are from Cuba. How old were you when you moved here to the United States?
I was 31 years old. Yeah, I spent my whole previous adult life in Cuba.
And so one question I ask artists all the time is, when is that moment they started to think of art as more than just a hobby, as something they wanted to take seriously? But it sounds like you did that actually like really early in life.
The educational fine arts system in Havana in the 80s was a very selective and hard to get in place. So my decision was taken when I was 11. The full education, it was a 12 years education, and to keep your position, it was extremely competitive. It was 15 positions for the whole country. So not everybody had the opportunity of really learn art, and if you were in those schools, it's because you were committed.
And so how far in schooling did you do in Cuba there?
It started at 11, so for us is 7th grade, until 9th grade, that's elementary. Middle school is 4 years, so it's different than here. I was in middle school for fine arts until I was 19, and then I graduated college. It's a 5 years curriculum for college in art, which will be, I would say, an equivalent of an MFA here. I graduated when I was 24.
And so you teach now at USF. Do you feel like there's significant differences between the way art is taught back in Cuba and the way it's taught here in the United States?
100%. I'm very grateful. Cuba has a very good academia system. I would say if you were an 80 kids and you went to San Alejandro in the 90s, you will be receiving one of the top education in the world. We will competing with the big guys. Then it's very academic. The first 7 years and the last 5 years are very conceptual based, very heavy abstract conceptual based. I'm very grateful for the education I received in there, but I love America. It's so free. For me, it was impossible to conceive that I was able to even dream with go back to school here, because it was so brutal in Havana, my experience. Like, I have to be so competitive and I have to have so much support to really make it that I didn't even consider going back to school here. But thanks to a friend I met, I was able to do it because USF is more flexible and provide more horizontal power dynamics. It's for everybody. Like, I have students that they will never even dream to be in a classroom in Havana. It's not gonna happen. But here, I was able to graduate. That wouldn't happen in Havana.
Well, very interesting. And so, so first of all, you create art, you teach, live here in Tampa, you landed here. Why did we talked a bit about this before in the past? But what made you land on Tampa instead of any other place?
I was having a really nice career in Havana. If you're an artist, you are a privilege in that time period. Like, you will be part of, 9% of the population who have the ability to travel, to sell, so I was privileged in Havana. Every artist you have met is a very privileged person compared with any other careers. And it's not the normal Cuban. Like, my partner is a lawyer, and in Havana I was richer than him. Like, I would be the guy. Like, so, but I become a mom. When you leave your little bubble, your little artistic bubble, you shock with the real. And I didn't want my son to be raised there. So that's the reason I came here. And then over these almost 12 years, I really become more literate politically. So I'm very grateful that I'm here.
Very nice. And so now that you're teaching at USF, do you feel like, I guess, how does your education in Cuba inform the way you teach now?
Yeah, as I mentioned, in Havana, I taught for 9 years and a half in San Alejandro Academy. San Alejandro is the third academia that was built in America. It's a very important academia. I remember how tough the curriculum was. I was a tough teacher, guys. I wasn't the tougher. So now I'm able of teaching art to everybody, which is nice. We're not competing with China anymore, which is good. It's not a mission. It's really like, United States gave me the tools to really relate to art in a different way. My classes are very diverse in all the sense. Like, there are people who wants to have the whole career and are are dreaming with the MoMA Museum, but there are people that they just like to have an experience in art. Yeah, not everybody needs to be top, you know, to get access to artistic education. I like that here.
Very cool. So I wanted to talk a bit about the way that you make art. So you know, there's some artists that approach it very organized. They have a set place, time to make art. Some are very intuitive, and they get to it whenever they feel the feeling. How does it work for you?
I'm a very structured person with art, only with art. The rest is chaos. So my husband, every time he goes to my studio and in my studio, he gets mad at me because it's so organized and clean. I say, why you're not doing this at home? Yeah, I had double section my whole life because in Havana we got the full like a school that everybody does, and then at the afternoon it was a very heavy academic background. So I'm like a trooper, and I divide my day by time. Like literally, I have alarms. I have a studio time even though I'm very busy working. I must have minimum like 8 hours per week in my studio. If I'm too tired to produce, at least I'm sitting there. So it's like a habit.
Yeah. And what about when you have creative block, when you have a hard time coming up with new ideas? What do you do at those times?
The good part of being crazy is that you don't have creative blocks. That's the silver lining of existential crisis. Like
that's great. Exhibition.
For real.
Silver lining of an existential crisis.
Yeah, I'm a very intense individual. I feel a lot. I had existential crisis my whole life. Probably that's what my mom noticed when I was very young. I feel everything in a room, so I always have a lot of things to channel. So I have no blockage with that. I just need time to do it, because if I don't do it, then it's a problem. Because it's like you're charging a way that you don't release, and then it's a problem. So for me, the studio is survival.
That makes sense. It's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
So as everyone will see in a moment when we head over to your exhibition, a lot of your work is it's kind of process oriented. It's very meticulous, and time. It takes a lot of time to create it. Do you find that you enjoy the process of creating it, or do you do it simply to get the finished product, you think?
I always enjoy the process, and I don't live in the world. I live in the Republic of Art. I'm not living here, guys. I'm here just hi. So sometimes it's heavy.
Yeah.
Because we have deadlines. For example, with that sculpture, that was my, I think that was one of my top records. Like, I was 48 hours standing. I didn't have the right stool. So I was standing 48 hours non-stop stopping. I sleep 3 hours, and then I took 15, 30 minutes break every 8 hours. Yes, guys, that's how we do it. So that you would describe that as something very tough, but I really enjoyed it. I got in the zone. I'm able to be myself. I live the word that is part of being an artist as escapism. So yeah, I really like it.
Because a lot of your work, it feels like, we have deadlines, of course. We spoke about this exhibition back in August or so, and now you'll see one of the big sculptures. It takes a lot of work, but I don't see how you could possibly rush it. Even if you wanted to, there's no rush in making that piece.
No. No, there is no way to rush certain things. I've been doing this for a while, so I can anticipate the level of labor. So I started like 3 months early. and then I realized I see by day how long I'm moving. So then I realized, okay, this is 2 days straight, it's not gonna finish. But I know that because I started super early. I always start super early.
Yeah. So when it comes to your creative process, what is your favorite part of it?
It's like it gave art, it fills a void that language cannot reach. Like every language offers you a version of the real, but art is the only language that fills all the void connected to emotions, past life, spiritual practice, a full experience that is going on around everybody, but for some reason I don't see it until I landed in a piece, and then it's easier to handle. I don't know if
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, kind of speaking to that, you've worked in a wide variety of media. We'll see another exhibition. There's like sculptures and installation and assemblage, and you've done printmaking. What is your favorite one specifically to work in?
Yeah. I was lucky enough to have like 12 years of very heavy academic orientation combined with conceptualism. So when you finish that, you're basically like a machine and you're able to do whatever you want with your hands. And if you need to learn it, it's gonna be a fast learning. You're a trained individual, like a classic ballet ballerina or a musician from orchestral musicians. So in that sense, I'm like a chameleon. For me, the most important is the idea or the gestures that I need to like get out, and the language I found comes after that. So I enjoy the present moment. Like now I have those 3 gestures that you will see in the show, but you will see another solo show that you won't look at all like that. And I enjoy challenge myself like technically. So I really like moving, and I just choose the language that better document the experience, because my work looks very objectual, but it's really about everyday actions that make us humans, that we share, that I create poetic gestures with them, and I document in art.
And so, is there an art form or a medium that you haven't tried yet that you would like to or would want to?
Yeah, my limit is sculpture, like marble and bronze. That's that's the limit. Like those are things that I haven't done.
Yeah.
And I would love one day. We will see.
Okay. Very cool. So I wanted to talk a little bit also about the themes and the concepts inside your work now. The theme I can see often throughout your work is the idea of possessions, talking about possessions, but what we consider ours and what we consider not ours, how things shift in and out of our possession. I was wondering if you could speak about that, about how the idea of having something speaks in your work.
Yeah, that show specifically is focused on the concept of possessions, ownership, and it goes from tangible things that we can own as accessed. This house is mine, or that house was mine, or these are my glasses, these are mine, are not yours, those are yours. But also how when I moved here, I lost my home. So it's a whole process. I'm not a materialistic person, but losing your home is a tough experience to experience. In Cuba, we experienced the process of, we used to call them nationalizations of things. That started with the big, like the electric companies, but ended up little by little, gradually coming down to everybody. And if you happen to have a beautiful house and somebody wants that, they can take it. So in the 90s and the early 20s, a lot of those people that took those houses that didn't belong to them, they were old enough to pass, and those objects started being part of the market in Havana. And it was a very weird experience to have, because in Havana, that was the market. We don't have too many other options. So they acknowledged that this belonged to something else, and I don't know how this get to me. It was something that it was at the same time terrifying and fascinating. So I started looking for objects that looks like those that I saw in Havana, and I started 3 collections. I started looking for objects identical to the one I have. I found them here, by the way. The plates, exactly my grandma's plates here, they are in there, exactly the same, but they are not the same, no? The second is objects that might look, okay, real objects that belong to me, objects that are identical, but they are not real, my possessions, and objects that might look similar to those, but that they don't belong ever to me. And it's weird how we share so many common points, because all the objects that are in there are familiar to all of you too. Like you have been in a home with something like that. So it makes me wonder how we share a commonality of items, even though I'm from Havana and you're from America, that we were like the opposites. We share the same items, the same skin of the city was very similar. I also interesting about loss. So now I'm sitting here, and that's an example that if this chair mine now, but for how long this chair is gonna be mine when I stand up and I leave, it's gonna stop being mine. How ownership works on a restaurant. You're drinking from a base that is yours at the moment, but it will stop being yours in 2 hours. And that can translate into more spiritual or deeper things. What do belong to us really? When we remember a memory, every time we remember the same memory, it changes. So it seems like we cannot lost anything that once we hold, but at the same time nothing really belongs to us ever. It's a very weird dynamic that I'm exploring on objects.
And that kind of brings me to my next question, because I was asked recently, is there a theme that kind of ties all 3 big exhibitions together? This one from Latanya Hicks, the next one, Low Tide Hybrid, it's a group exhibition, and yours. And it felt like one thing was the idea, as we move through time, we get older, or as we move through space from one home to another, about the idea of things we decide to bring, things we decide to leave behind, and things that we can't bring with us, even if we wanted to. Does that kind of idea ring true for you?
Yeah, 100%. Like, coming to America was a tough decision. I was privileged in there. I was privileged in Havana. I had a lot of time to produce art. I was producing art. I was selling because it was a big market. And my generation was the train target. International ambassadors that will be part of the art world were trained for that. So leaving Havana was pretty tough. I had no idea it would be so tough. But I had a lot of time to think. I have like 3 years to come here, but I make my luggage the last night. You cannot put your life in a baggage. It was the last night. So But I was for 3 years thinking what I'm taking with me. That baggage go with me forever. Like, here I'm not a homeowner. I used to be a homeowner since I was 14 years old. In Havana, Vedado, that is like the version of Miami Beach here. So for me, not being a homeowner is a new experience. I stopped being a homeowner when I was 31. That baggage go with me all over. Like, it's the most, I know where it is right now. And one of the things I brought, you will see them on the show, it was one of my grandma plates. Yeah, it's important, the things that you put inside of that container, that little container that go with you over the years and that you pull over. And it made me wonder, I came from a family of immigrants in Havana too. My grandfather came from Asturias, Spain, fleeing the dictatorship, Franco. And we had, I didn't meet him, but we had in our home like his jacket. That was his only possession when he fled Asturias. He was fleeing a dictatorship. He's a repeat in the families, it's so weird. And he was obsessed with people not immigrating. Like he passed that fear to my grandma and to my dad. Don't become an immigrant, you know. And he was saying, I follow his footsteps. And it made me wonder that the only space he had was the pockets. So I have a baggage, but he had two pockets in a leather jacket. It's interesting how we always kept the items that we used to move from one country to another one when we know it's not a return ticket.
Yeah. And that kind of brings me to the last theme I wanted to talk about. We already touched on it a bit, but ideas of memory and history. How do those figure into your work?
Yeah. I love linguistic studies. They show how every memory we have is constructed by language, but also by common reference frames and our culture, society. So how the individual connect to the collective is very interesting. And what is our role into that game? I am an apolitical artist. I think there is nothing more political in this world than being an individual. But being Cuban, I don't have that right to be apolitical, you know? So, though that show will talk about common actions, common reference frames that everybody shares. I'm a collector of gestures that all of us, everybody in the world, every human being have done since the beginning of time, like looking for something that is familiar or trying to remember something and seeing how the memory change in time and see the present changing the memory. Like in the mirrors that you will see, those are full images, but you will see only a portion of the image. I call that the core like memory. Like this happened to me. I met somebody. That's the core memory. But how you tell that changed every time you said it. So I fight to be an individual because as a Cuban, we never had that freedom. And since a very early age, I noticed that I was different than the people who was traveling and visiting us. It felt like a zoo in a kind. We were the Cubans. And it was tough to me to see how a father came with his son my age, but somehow he saw me as a prostitute. Even though I was painting an oil paint better than Goya, because everybody there is seen like that. It's seen that less, you know? So that I was start thinking, how can I make everybody see me like a person, no? And I started looking for these gestures that make us humans, like kissing. So when you see that the next person is exactly like you, then probably we can reclaim humanity. I don't know if that answers your question.
And I think in the context of the exhibition when we're there, it'll kind of unfold itself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to open up to question from the audience in a second here. Just a couple things I wanted to cover before we head over there. We have 3 kinds of bodies of work. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how you created them to get a sense of what we see over there. So one, I'll give it to you. If you could tell us a little bit about how you actually create these pieces.
Okay, one of the pieces that you will see are sculptures made out of stone that has dandelion seeds on top. When I moved to Miami, in Havana, all my work was looking for trash on the floor. It's a beautiful city to pick up stuff because there is a lot. And when I moved here, I kind of lost my studio. So I found in Miami a stone, and those classic like garden stone that are very polished. We call them in Havana china pelona. I don't know how you call them here. Like it's a garden stone that is very polished, and that was something familiar. And was the first item I collected, and it fit my heart, my hand, and it made me wonder about my heart. And my heart was as hard as the stone. So I have this memory of holding that stone and my son's hand on the other hand, and feel my heart made out of stone. So I start thinking, how can I put some softness into this? And I start looking for materials that add softness to something as hard as a stone, hard, you know? And then I reached dandelions, and you will see the stone tomorrow, but I started looking for things made out of stones, and you will see the sculptures in there, and then I repeating the same gestures of putting something soft on top of things that are hard. And there is a lot of history of women like Jeanne d'Arc, L'inconnue du Seine, and anonymous women with tough histories that I put dandelions on top of them, try to add some softness. That's one series. Another series are the mirrors. I just collect mirrors that look familiar to me. Not necessarily that I like for my home, but that seems like something I have seen in the past. I look for images that are very familiar to me, and that are related to my personal history. Then I scratch part of the mirror and I show only one section of the image, and the rest is hidden, but it's hidden by the real and by your reflection. So it's about that core memory that we have that changed in the present moment. And also the mirror looks like oceans, and those fragmented images look like islands. And the title is Island, so I play also with value, like very trashy, broken mirrors have very expensive, like pictures, like authentic litos, a 14 case, like tapis from China from the 1800s, like is in the mall, in the one that I found on the street. Because what defines value in this world sometimes is very confusing to me, you know? So I play with that on those pieces. And the third one are the plates. You will see the plates that I brought from Havana, and I recreate, this initially was about what is real, no? Like those china that we have at our home are very familiar to us. We drink our coffee or tea in there. We eat every day in there. And we're familiar with the flowers, and it gave you that intimacy and familiarity that we're home. But if you think about it, we don't know anything about the artist who made the flower, it was the flower that was, picked up on a garden, or it was by somebody. Do they use a real life flower, or it was just a pattern? Like, we don't know anything about the images that are in our homes when we ask deeper. And that estrangement of the familiarity is very interesting to me. So I just recreate the pattern with real flowers and petals. It goes almost invisible to the eye, but the fact that I'm putting a real skin to the representation doesn't make it real. So it's like a catch-22 situation where you cannot escape the fact that you cannot reach the truth. That's it.
Very good. We're excited to see it. But before we go, I would love to open up to any questions for Tatiana from our audience.
Do you dream and get images and ancestral messages? I know it's a big one.
Are you talking about lucid dreaming? Lucid dreaming?
Any dreaming, actually.
Thank you for asking that. I grew up without religion. It was prohibited. I learned the Lord's Prayer at the age of 10 in the bathroom, and it was the equivalent of doing today something very bad in the bathroom. We were like, ooh, we're gangsta because we're learning the Lord's Prayer in the bathroom. And my friend Eva Guillen, I remember her name, she risked it, top. But when I learned that, it was powerful in a very... I grew up without concept of religion. I'm not even baptized. So I don't have any, and I'm grateful for that too. I have a very open relationship to religion. So I'm not indoctrinated by that. But it was a powerful thing what I learned. And that opened me to spiritual practices. So I'm a spiritual person. I have lucid dreams, but art is a completely different animal. Like, I connect spiritually to God. I do believe in God. I love spiritual practices, but art is very similar to a ritual. Those are rituals, but it's different than anything else. I do believe in this in lucid dreams, in universe, of course. For me, it's tangible.
Any other questions?
Have you had an opportunity to exhibit in other places around the world?
Yes. When I was in Havana, I had a lot of opportunities. So I had a solo show in Barcelona. I was in connection with new collectors in Netherlands, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Lithuania. All over the globe. That totally collapsed when I decided to immigrate here, the way I did. So the only person who stayed answering email was the Lithuanian curator, who didn't step back just because I decided to emigrate. And now I'm with him in a triennial that he has been doing for years. It's the most beautiful triennial of artist book. And it's a Lithuanian curator. I'm very grateful for him. I'm here and little by little getting in there. We don't receive here as an artist the same support, but we're more organic and free here. So I will choose 100% USF, 100% times again. But it's harder here. But you will find the right people. I used to have a check mark, very ambitious when I was younger. Now it changed. My dream changed now. And I think I have more freedom than people who are still fighting that check mark. So you need to pay your fees for freedom.
Any more questions for Tatiana?
You said you have a son.
Yes,
How old?
he's 20.
And does he do art?
Yes, he's a musician. He's at UCF.
Oh.
He tried to make it the safe way. He was a year at Embry-Riddle doing aerospace engineering. We support him. I was surprised because he was doing music for years. But he didn't like it, and I totally support his decision of being at UCF. He plays trombone. And I love music.
Go ahead.
Are you teaching anywhere, workshops or anything outside of USF that we might have access to?
I love teaching. I have to represent. I have two of my students are here. I love you guys. Thank you. And yeah, I teach. I can teach workshop, anything, drawing, painting, printmaking. Right now I'm teaching 7 classes at university, so I'm kind of booked. The full time is 3. But summer is an open spot for me, and I love teaching workshop in the community. Yeah.
Do you have a studio
I-
in Tampa?
I have a studio at USF. I'm very grateful for USF, but insanely grateful. It's a wonderful university. It gave me a chance at so many levels, and I have a studio in there. So that show is possible because USF.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I came in late, but I'm really moved by your work.
That's not mine. She's amazing. I agree with you.
Yeah, we're gonna take a walk
Oh,
through the gallery,
okay.
actually.
All right, thank you.
So,
You're very welcome.
anybody that wants to come with us, feel free to walk over with us to the art gallery. Tatiana, do you kind of mind leading us through the space?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so we're gonna walk over to